anything?
Rose, take these before I drop them all.
Very good, madam.
Any news of Edward?
Hospital said he broke his leg in 3 places.
Oh, those kitchen stairs are a death trap.
I know.
Lady Prudence is collecting those when she comes to tea.
Right. Everything all right, Shay, Madam Yvonne?
Fine, thank you, Rose, except that some people seem to think it unnecessary to pay for what they buy.
Yeah, you should get the police on them.
Commit half the peeresses and Debrett to prison, I wouldn't mind. Oh, whose hat?
Beg pardon?
Who has left an extremely shiny silk hat on the hall table? And a somewhat elaborate cane.
Mr. Bellamy has a visitor, madam, in the drawing room.
Well, he should know better. Who is it?
Mr. Karakin.
Mr. Karakin is hardly a visitor, Rose.
No, madam.
Well, of course we're in your debt, Karakin. Very much so, as my wife told you in her letter. But you must remember I am only a humble member of the opposition.
Who nevertheless held office under the Crown.
True.
And son-in-law to the late Earl of Southwold.
Yes, but that fact does not empower me to grant honours. Only Mr. Asquith can recommend that...
Julius! Nobody told me you were here.
Elizabeth, we are discussing business.
Julius and I are partners in business. The hat business.
Yes, my dear, but these are matters of rather more importance than ladies' hats.
Oh, are they? I'm sorry, I'll go away then.
I shall take you to lunch at the Ritz, if you wish.
I'm lunching today, thank you, Julius.
Then I shall call and see you later at the shop, if I may.
By all means do. I'll not disturb you any further. Excuse me.
As I was saying, there's little I can do for the moment, especially since the House rose yesterday for the spring recess.
All the same, if my offer could eventually reach the ears of the party treasurer...
I'll do what I can. I can't say more. Tell me, Karakin, what exactly are your politics?
In what sense?
You have friends in the Liberal Party, yet you offer to finance the Conservatives. Are you by any chance backing 2 horses at once?
I'm a foreigner, Bellamy. I'm not impressed by your English 2-party system.
Only for your own personal advancement?
Quite.
Your frankness does you credit.
Thank you.
Nevertheless, in this country, gentlemen are expected to favour only one political cause at a time, as they would favour only one woman at a time.
True, Bellamy, but as I'm constantly reminding your charming daughter, I am no gentleman.
Quite.
It was good of you to receive me.
Not at all. Hudson, Mr. Karakin's leaving. Can I call your cab?
Thank you, no, I have my car. Good morning, Lady Marjorie.
Oh, Mr. Karakin, how nice.
Mr. Karakin is leaving, my dear. Are you just in or going out?
On my way out to the Times Book Club in Wigmore Street.
Might I perhaps drive you there, my motor car?
Oh, how kind of you. You sure it's not out of your way? Hudson, I'll be back to luncheon, and we're expecting Lady Prudence for tea.
Very good, my lady.
She couldn't not marry him anyway. Not while she's still married to Mr. Curbridge.
In name only.
That's all it ever was. Name only.
Oh, no, she couldn't marry him.
Well, I should think not, indeed. Marry a man like that.
Like what, Miss Roberts?
Like Mr. Karakin.
Well, he's rich, very attractive, and kind and thoughtful.
Put a turban on his head and he'd be out of the Arabian Nights.
That's right, Arabian. One of them Eastern potentates with a different wife in every port.
I think you'll find that Mr. Karakin is Armenian, Mrs. Bridges, not Arabian.
Oh, well, it's all the same. All coffee-coloured, oily hair and rings on their fingers.
And bells on their toes.
And bells to answer. Joan, front door.
Yes, Mr. Hudson.
Ah, that'll be the postman.
Oh, can't really see myself wearing this in the royal enclosure. Can you?
Well, it is a bit gaudy, but it gives you a certain authority.
Authority? The authority of a madame over her girls, I should think. Well, that looks a bit better. It's a bilious colour, though.
I hope these are on approval.
Oh, dear me, yes. I sent word to Elizabeth by Agatha to let us have a few hats to try on for the dear child's wedding.
Isn't it funny we've never met Clive?
Oh, Clive's all right. Families, clergy, yeoman farmers, mostly. But there's no money there. I've warned the girl. She may have to rough it.
Yes, Joe?
The afternoon post, my lady.
Thank you. Piano stick. James.
Oh, how exciting.
You can take the tea things, Joan.
Very good, my lady.
It's from the ship posted at Brindisi.
On his way home?
Yes, from India. We dock at Tilbury on May 5th. That's next week. Hope to be home in time for dinner and bringing Phyllis.
Phyllis? Marjorie, he's not.
I'm bringing Phyllis Kingman home with me for a few days before she goes to Leamington to stay with her aunt. She's a topping girl, marvellous horsewoman and a good looker. I'm sure you and Father will like her. I hope you do, because I've already popped the question. Going through the Suez Canal, actually. And she said yes, so we're sort of engaged.
Will there be anything further, my lady?
No, thank you, Joan.
Is there any more?
So looking forward to getting home. How are all at Eton Place? Your loving son, James. P.S. I forgot to mention that Phil's pater is a major in the Army Veterinary Corps. Awfully nice chap and first-rate with polo ponies.
Well, Marjorie, dear, I'd better leave you and get these wretched hats home.
Well, at least she's not a servant. Let's hope she's not pregnant.
Hardly likely, with her father a vet.
A horse doctor?
That's right.
A veterinary surgeon is qualified to look after sick animals of all kinds, too.
I know, Mr. Hudson. But in the army, he sees to the horses. I mean, they don't have goats and pigs in a cavalry regiment. They have horses.
Now, don't be flippant, my girl. I'll have to send you out of the room.
What's more important is what sort of girl is she? If she's a decent girl, her father can be a chimney sweep.
Oh, that's a change of tune coming from you, Miss Roberts.
I gave up hope years ago, Rose, of Captain James ever marrying into the nobility.
Not after Sarah, eh?
Let's have a wee bit of respect now, please. If Captain James has chosen a fiancée, she will be entitled to recognition by the staff of this house, whatever our private feelings may be. Now get on with your tea, all of you.
Corsets, top drawer, left-hand side. Corset laces, top drawer, right-hand side. Camisoles, second drawer, left-hand side. Drawers, second drawer, right-hand side. All petticoats laid out neatly in the third drawer down. And all stockings put in a silk bag next to them. Well?
Hasn't Miss Lizzie got nice things?
She has. Not as nice as her ladyship, of course, but then she's older. And it's Mrs. Curbridge until you've been here a bit longer.
Yes, I see, Rose.
I only call her Miss Lizzie because I've been looking after her ever since... Well, ever since she was Miss Lizzie. Corsets, top drawer, left-hand side. Corset laces, top drawer, right-hand side. Camisole, second drawer, left-hand side. Drawers, second drawer, right-hand side. All petticoats laid out neatly in the third drawer down. And all stockings put in the silk bag next to them.
What dress shall I put out for Mrs. Curbridge for dinner?
Oh, I don't suppose she'll have time to change now. It must be gone 7:30.
Shall I turn her bed down, then?
Might as well, just in case.
In case of what?
In case... Never mind.
Well, this is her bed. I mean, she does sleep here.
Never know these days.
What?
Nothing. Get out a nightdress, you'll find it in the bottom drawer. Lay it neatly on the chair with her negligee. And slippers facing outwards.
Why?
Why? So she can slip into 'em easy. If you're going to be a lady's maid, you've got to learn all the little tricks, haven't you?
I'm not sure I want to be a lady's maid.
And draw the curtains on the landing.
Yes, Rose.
I'm sorry if I startled you. Did you think perhaps I was a thief trying to break into the shop and steal the cash?
It's precious little cash to steal, Julius. Besides, you said this morning you were coming.
But, not this late. I've kept you waiting.
I wasn't waiting for you. I was working, trying to tidy up this wretched desk. There's no time for it during the day.
How is trade?
It's all right.
Outstanding accounts. Many?
A few.
Lady Appleby, £14. The Honourable Mrs. Charles Ravenscroft, £69, 12 and 6. October the 15th. Do you mean to say this woman hasn't paid her account for 6 months? Mrs. Wenner, Lady Joan Cray, the Vicomtesse de Vernay. I don't call that a few. Why hasn't your electricity account been paid since last January?
I have no idea. You come here simply to criticize my running of the business?
The object of running a business, Elizabeth, is to make money, is it not? Anyway, I came here to ask you, since you declined my invitation to lunch, if you would accept my invitation to dine this evening. Now.
I'm not dressed to dine. I'm very grubby and I'm rather tired.
As you wish.
Who's Lady Blanche Compton?
Lady Blanche Compton. Why do you ask?
Because Jeanette told me that while I was taking some hats home this morning, where incidentally you were closeted for some unknown reason with my father, a certain Lady Blanche Compton came in to choose 3 hats for herself. The account to be sent to a Mr. Julius Karakin at Albany, Piccadilly.
Well?
Well, I wondered if she might be some relative of yours.
No, you didn't. You wondered if she were an old or new lady friend. Well, the answer to that is quite new. I met her at a bridge party last week. She's the younger daughter of a marquis.
So within a few months of our meeting, you buy 3 hats from my shop for another woman?
Why not?
What sort of a man are you?
A philanderer.
Then what do you want from me?
A friendship.
You sure it isn't the friendship of my parents for what they can do for you? I was foolish and naive enough to think I was being loved for myself, but I wasn't. Was I? Every kindness you've shown me, every kiss, every caress has been calculated to further your career, to advance you in society, hasn't it? Hasn't it?
I warned you from the beginning that I was a snob and an adventurer, but you were not deterred.
So now you're casting me off like one of last year's hats.
You're casting yourself off, my dear. I've invited you to dine with me this evening, to go out as friends. But I will not be pinned down into making any false declarations of love to you. I never have. I'm dishonest about many things, but never about love. You're a charming companion, Elizabeth, to lunch and dine and talk and sleep with, but I am not in love with you.
Well, since you're so critical of the way I'm running this shop, and on familiar terms, it seems, with most of the titled ladies in London society, I suggest you take over. I'm sure you can extract from them the money they owe for their idiotic hats. I'm going home.
I bought you some nice cold roast beef.
You shouldn't have troubled, Rose. I said I wasn't hungry.
Well, you've got to eat sometime. Mrs. Bridges wants to know, would you like the sweet? It's chocolate blancmange.
No, thank you. Nothing else. I'm really not hungry. Did you explain I had a headache?
Yes, I did, and her ladyship said if you've still got it tomorrow morning, she's sending for Dr. Foley.
I'm not ill, Rose. I just don't think I could face another evening down there with them, answering their endless questions.
What about, Miss Lizzie?
You know what about. You still seeing him? Is he your lover? Does he know about Lawrence? How rich is he really?
Oh, it's only natural for them to want to know. After all, you are their only daughter.
Well, James will be home tomorrow, so perhaps that'll take their attention off me for a change.
Yeah, well, let's hope you can cheer up a bit for your brother's homecoming. That's more like it. Are you still seeing him?
I don't know. We had words tonight at the shop. For the first time, I was really angry with him.
What's he done to you?
Why do all men have to behave as if all women are stupid, silly creatures?
He said that?
He thinks I'm incapable of running a simple little business like a hat shop.
Well, in that case, why did he give you one as a present if he thought you couldn't manage it?
Oh, it was a gesture, Rose. Something glittering to dangle in front of my eyes like a Christmas toy for a child. Dazzle it and make it obedient. And now he blames me for all the bad debts and the losses. So I told him he could run the beastly shop himself, and I walked out.
Is that all? Just because he...
Well, there was another reason, but I...
Well, I think you've given up too easy. If women can't manage shops and businesses, how can they be expected to vote in Parliament?
You're right, Rose. You're absolutely right.
Now, I don't know what went on tonight between you and Mr. Karikin, but I do know one thing. You've got to show him that you're not a soft, silly woman what can't manage her own affairs. Now, you go back there tomorrow night and sort out the accounts.
All right.
And if he tries to interfere, you'll just tell him to mind his own business and you'll mind yours. And it is yours, 'cause he give it you. Yes. That's more like mine, Miss Lizzie.
Elizabeth! Oh, sir, where is the girl?
Mrs. Kirkbridge left word to say she'd be in later for dinner, sir. She had business to attend to at her shop.
Her shop?
Yes, my daughter runs a hat shop in Mayfair.
How unusual.
That sounds rather fun.
Well, if the servants could show us to our rooms.
I'll do that when they've taken out the luggage.
Pity Elizabeth not being here. Still, we'll see the old girl later.
Well, why don't we all go upstairs to the drawing room and sit down? Personally, I found waiting for the boat to dock somewhat tiring on the feet.
Yes, come along up. We'll have tea in the drawing room, Hudson, when they've taken out the luggage.
Very good, my lady.
And tell them not to bang about with my small trunk. It's got some very fragile china ornaments in it. Something we bought for you and James's father in Bombay. Your house is quite deluxe, isn't it? James said it was. He's looking well, isn't he? Idiotic fool of a native groom forgot to fasten his girth tight, and they were in full cry after a very fast pig when Father's horse stumbled and his saddle slipped. Father went under Panther's belly at full gallop.
How very uncomfortable.
Oh, it was. He got kicked in the eye and had to let go. He had an awful fall. He broke his rib and bruised his pelvis. But he said afterwards he'd had a splendid day. He's going to have a crack at the Carter Cup this year. I say I'd love another piece of cake.
Phyllis rides jolly well herself, Mother.
I'm sure she does. I'm afraid a gentle canter in Rotten Row is all we can offer you here.
Oh, I'll be shopping mostly while I'm in town. Get myself some decent clothes.
Well, you can buy yourself a hat at my sister's shop, can't you, Mother?
Yes.
How long will your father be stationed in India?
They were due home last spring, but he got offered a brigade posting and it meant promotion, so they'll be stopping on for another 3 years. I'll be staying in Leamington with my Aunt Hilda. She's my mother's sister until James and I can make some plans.
Yes, yes, quite.
Of course you must stay here with us while you're in London.
Oh, I will, thank you, Lady Marjorie.
Perhaps you'd like to come up now and see your rooms.
Oh, thanks awfully. Stay and talk to your father, James. James doesn't look a bit like you, does he? Much more like his father. I look like my father, or so my mother said.
Well, James, it's good to have you back.
It's good to be back. Ah, by the way, I managed to save a bit of pay out there. In fact, my bank account's in credit for the first time since I went away. Phil's been marvellous. She helped me stop spending money.
Does she know why you were seconded?
Oh, I did tell her.
About?
Just about being in debt.
Oh, that's all right.
I know I'm not supposed to mention the subject, but I would like to know, purely out of curiosity, what happened to Sarah?
Well, she left us after all. She became fond of a chauffeur we took on, a Welsh fellow called Watkins. They left together to start up a garage, I believe.
Married?
Oh, yes, he married her.
Oh, good. Good. I hope she'll be all right.
Yes. Well, perhaps you'll be relieved to know she was having a baby when she left. Probably had it by now, so...
So no harm was done when she lost...
No.
Good.
Phyllis seems a nice girl. Strong character, I feel.
She's very determined.
Oh, yes, one can see that.
I'm very lucky, you know. She could have married anyone she liked.
You're already sure she's the girl you want to marry? I mean, you have given plenty of thought to this, haven't you?
Oh, yes. Yes, I'm extremely fond of her.
But you are in love?
Oh, yes, I really am. I know I am.
I see. Good. Now, tell me, when did you rejoin your regiment?
Well, I see my colonel on Thursday. I've got some leave, about 3 weeks, and then it depends.
On what?
Well, I don't know how you and Mother feel about this, but I'm thinking of leaving the army and trying to earn some money.
Are you?
I thought I might join one of those merchant firms in the city who trade with the Far East.
Any particular one in mind?
Well, I met this fellow in Calcutta who works for Jardine's, and he said he'd introduce me to them. Well, quite honestly, Father, life in the household cavalry is very idle these days. You know, strictly for rich young men with nothing better to do.
Possibly, but you'll still be on the reserve of officers, won't you, in case of war?
War? Where?
In Europe, James. Not unthinkable, I'm afraid.
Well, if war does break out, I'm quite ready. I've been in action since I last saw you, didn't I? Didn't I tell you?
Oh, yes. You wrote to your mother about a skirmish on the Afghanistan border. You let her nearly frightened her to death.
Well, it only lasted half an hour, but it was quite thrilling. This patrol I was commanding got shot at by these tribesmen from the side of a hill. Still, I now know what it's like to be under fire, and I don't expect German bullets would sound any different.
We've won 4 more indoor servants and a man to do the garden, as well as the 2 slices. One simply has to out there. They're bone lazy, those wretched natives.
James, I've put Miss Kingman in the blue room.
Phyllis, Mother?
Yes, of course, darling. I do hope you'll be comfortable.
Oh, I will be.
Well, come along down and meet the servants. You'll excuse us.
Cheer up, Marjorie. You could have done a lot worse.
These middle-class army people, just because they employ dozens of native servants, they think themselves equal to everyone.
Backbone of the empire, my dear. They sweat it out in places you and I wouldn't be seen dead in. Awful garrisons, camps, and bungalows in Africa, India, Malay states, and God knows where else. Pestered by flies and limp from the heat. I think if they can find a bit of comfort, they deserve it.
I just wish you wouldn't talk to Hudson as though he were an Indian houseboy.
Well, she's the sort of girl who'll learn quickly. Besides, she's nervous.
Am I so frightening?
Not frightening, my darling, just a little awe-inspiring for the daughter of an army vet.
Are we suggesting more cheese, Miss Roberts?
No, thank you, Mr. Hudson.
Mrs. Bridges?
I've done, thank you, Mr. Hudson. Ruby, plates.
Oh, Hudson. Sorry, I weren't disturbing you.
Oh, no, we've quite finished, sir.
May I bring in my fiancée?
Oh, indeed, sir, please.
Do sit down, all of you. So this is the servants' hall. How very cheerful and comfortable. I do hope we're not intruding on your meal.
Not at all, Miss...
I just wanted to meet you all.
Now, this is Miss Kingman. This is Mrs. Bridges, who cooks for us.
Very pleased to meet you.
Splendidly, of course. Hudson, you've met. Roberts, who looks after Mother.
How do you do?
Rose, who looks after my sister and everything in the house. Ruby, who helps Mrs. Bridges, and... oh, I haven't met you, have I?
Oh, this is Jones, sir, the new under-house parlour-maid.
Yes.
Well, we mustn't keep you from whatever you're doing.
Was India nice, Captain James?
Oh, yes, I enjoyed it very much, thank you, Rose. It's a very nice country.
Did you shoot any tigers then, Mr. James?
No, Mrs. Bridges, but I did go out on one tiger hunt. Didn't get a shot, though. Still, I brought back Miss Kingman instead.
Oh, thank you.
I'm sure we would all like to offer you our congratulations, sir, on your engagement.
Thank you very much, all of you. I'm sure we shall get along famously.
Good evening.
Good evening,
Good evening, sir.
Thank
Good evening, Miss...
Well, nice, strong-looking girl. Healthy, that's something.
Stuck up, I'd say.
She'll keep him in order, if anyone can. Do you know, I reckon he's a bit scared of her. Not a bad thing, neither. Captain James wants a strong woman.
Needs, not wants, Rose.
Needs a strong woman.
Besides, you never know. One of these days she might be the mistress of this house. Isn't that so, Mr. Hudson?
Aye, it is possible, Mrs. Bridges.
Jeanette? What are you doing here at this time of night? Oh.
I've just been making some sense and order of your accounts.
There was no need. I came round for precisely the same reason.
Elizabeth, you're still angry with me.
No, No, I'm not angry.
What then?
I'm just a little disappointed, I suppose.
I'm sorry.
Julius, I know you've always told me what you were like. You were very honest about that.
I hope so.
But you see, I didn't believe you. I thought that at last I'd found someone I could trust and lean on and be loved by exclusively and tenderly as I thought I was. I made a very foolish mistake. I fell in love with you. It was very silly of me because, of course, it was all an illusion. It was just a silly dream.
You've been reading too many cheap novels, Elizabeth. The world is not like that. You should not be so hopelessly romantic. You're bound to be injured.
I wanted so much for us to be in love. Properly in love.
I thought you wanted an affair.
I dreamed of something more. It was my fault.
Well, there's very little I can say. Except to beg you not to spoil our few happy months together with bitter recriminations. We are both adult people. You are a married woman. Let us preserve for always what was just a charming incident in both our lives, yes?
Yes, I'll try.
James, Phyllis! What in heaven's name? You can't come in here dressed like that.
Well, I can't get dressed because you've got the key to the big trunk. Oh, dear, look, I'll go upstairs at once. If you could bring the key up.
It's all right. Come in. Only joking.
What if the butler should come in?
Hudson is a man of the world.
Let me go, James.
I don't want to. Elizabeth! There you are!
My brave bronze brother. Mind your strength.
Look at you! What's all this about a hat shop? Oh, so this is my sister Elizabeth, Miss Kingman.
Hello, Elizabeth.
How do you do?
I came down to get the key for my trunk.
Oh, I see.
Well, how's life? What about,
What about what?
nothing?
Lawrence? You were going to say, what about Lawrence, weren't you?
Yes, I already know. Mother wrote and told me. So you're Mrs. Gay, but without Mr. Gay.
That's about right, James. Lawrence and I are what is known as separated. It was all for the best, so don't let's talk about it any more.
I expect it's a great thrill for you to have your dear brother back again, isn't it?
May the 6th tomorrow? Mother's birthday, or had you forgotten?
No, I hadn't forgotten.
I gather we'd have a little dinner party to celebrate it.
Family dinner. Just the 6 of us.
Then it won't be exclusively family, will it?
I'm looking forward to meeting your friend. Mother says he's enormously rich. Aren't you clever?
Julius may not come.
Oh, why?
He may be too busy.
That would be a pity.
Well, if you'll excuse me, I think I shall go and dress for dinner. And if you wish to complete your toilet upstairs, I'm sure James will excuse you.
Sorry about that.
It's all right.
My sister takes a little time to get used to people.
I expect she's very fond of you. And perhaps a little jealous.
Come in.
Not in bed yet?
No, not quite. Anything wrong?
Nothing. Just felt like a little talk, that's all. Before turning in.
Nice surprise.
Well, it's been very much James's day. As I've spent the whole evening trying to make my future daughter-in-law feel at home, I think it time I paid some attention to my own daughter.
Father, how sweet. Do you mind if I get into bed?
No, please do. You'll catch cold.
I'm sure Phyllis is a splendid girl. probably just what James needs for a wife, but I hardly think she's the sort of person that needs to be made to feel at home.
That's what your mother said. The truth is she's trying too hard, over-anxious to make an impression.
Father, I don't know what to do about Julius. I'm so deeply in his debt.
You're still seeing him? Your mother seemed to think that...
What?
Things had cooled off between you.
Yes, they have. But how can I let him go out of my life owing him so much?
You owe him nothing, Elizabeth. He bought you as he tried to buy us, your mother and me. It may have cost him the lease of this house and the price of a hat shop. But he got what he wanted, and don't you forget it, my dear. I don't wish this to sound harsh or indelicate. But I think you ought to know that as a result of my introducing him at his own request to Sir William Gates and Lord Newton, Julius Karakin has been asked to advise the Conservative Party on financial investment and expenditure. He's become a close friend of Arthur Balfour's and is a candidate for the Athenaeum. He has had his...
Pound of flesh?
If you wish to put it that way.
I do.
Put him out of your mind, Elizabeth.
Father, what's wrong with me? I want so much to be married, happily, and have children. Just to be ordinary. Perhaps I never will be.
Well, it's just the right man hasn't come along yet, that's all. But he will one day. Plenty of time.
Is there?
I'll put out the light. You get some sleep.
Father, what would I do without you?
There. You'll get some sleep.
Right, now take the cellar keys and get out 6 bottles of the Heidsiek 98. Mind you don't drop them, Rose.
6 bottles? Whew, that's a lot of champagne for 6 people. Yeah, that's a bottle each. Ooh, they'll be halfway round the Marble Arch before they get to the fish course.
Today is Her Ladyship's birthday, Rose, and Captain James is home and engaged to be married. Twin events which call for a family celebration.
Yes, Mr. Hudson.
They want to dine at 8:30, Mr.
Oh, Mr. Creakin will not be dining after all, Mrs. Bridges. Her Ladyship telephoned Lady Prudence to come and make up the number.
Oh, Lady Prune. Oh, that's more like family. Oh, I'd sooner have her to my birthday dinner than that coffee-coloured Arabian.
Armenian, Mrs. Bridges.
Hey, Mrs. Bridges. All for you.
Oh,
Let's see how you get on with cooking the dinner.
All right, Rose, go and get the dining room laid for luncheon.
Yes, Mr. Hudson.
Oh, a nice letter from Nanny Webster.
You never catch her forgetting a family birthday.
Oh, dear, her writing's getting so shaky.
I'm not surprised, considering she was almost blind when she left here last year.
A kind people are to remember. And thank you again, my darling, for the beautiful pendant. I shall wear it tonight. Oh, isn't it a lovely morning?
So it should be for your birthday.
James's first day home.
Where is James, by the way? I haven't seen him this morning.
He breakfasted early and walked through St. James's Park with your father. I have to go out now, darling, so will you take care of Miss Phyllis? Yes, Phyllis. Be nice to her.
Yes, I'll try. Says in the Morning Post the King's confined to his room at Buckingham Palace with a bad attack of bronchitis.
Oh, dear. Well, the doctors will get him well again. They always do.
Good morning, Elizabeth.
Phyllis, dear. There. Now, what would you like to do this morning?
Well, I had thought of going to the Army and Navy. It's not far from here, is it?
No, not all that far.
I have to order some things for my father.
Well, then I shall accompany you, if you will allow me to.
That would be splendid. Perhaps we could walk. It's a fine morning.
Phyllis, I want to apologize to you. I was insufferably rude yesterday. Please forgive me.
Oh, dear me, that's all right. I don't mind.
It's no excuse for bad manners, but well, I was feeling sorry for myself and rather wretched, and I took it out on you.
Don't mention it. I do understand.
I'm glad you and James are going to marry. And I hope we can be great friends.
Oh, I know we shall, Elizabeth. Let's get our hats on and go shopping. I shall try to cheer you up.
Oh, hello, darling. All alone? There's Phyllis.
I'm upstairs gossiping to Elizabeth. I'll be down soon. Sherry, Mother?
No, I'll wait. They get on remarkably well, don't they?
Yes.
I'm glad. She's a very friendly girl.
Yes.
And I'm sure she'll make a charming and a good wife.
I know she will, Mother.
She doesn't mind about you leaving the army?
Not a bit. She's happy with whatever I decide.
Of course. Being the wife of a captain in the Life Guards is very different from being the wife of a clerk in a trading company in Leadenhall Street.
Yeah, but
Yes, I know it's only for a short time while you're learning the business, but your salary will be very small. We'll have to live very simply and economically. I just don't want your relationship to be under too much of a strain from the outset. You do know what I mean, don't you?
I can assure you, Mother, that Phyllis would be happy anywhere. We are in love with each other, and we believe in a lot of the same things. And we're going to provide you with lots of lovely grandchildren, so don't worry.
No, I won't.
Yes.
There you all are. Come and have some sherry, Phyllis.
Oh, thank you, Lady Marjorie.
Did you two find what you wanted at
Yes.
the Army and Navy?
Yes, and then we had tea at Gunter's. We had so many parcels we could hardly get into the cab.
Lady Prudence Fairfax, my lady.
True. Many happy returns, my dear Marjorie. Oh, what a lovely family gathering. Ah, you must be Miss Kingman. How do you do?
How do you do?
Miss Lizzie hardly touched her dinner. She's heartbroken, poor soul.
Well, in my opinion, she's well rid of that Armenian creature. Most unsuitable.
Well, anyway, Miss Kingman made a good healthy meal. 2 helpings of fish, and goodness knows how many potatoes with her veal. Isn't that what you said, Rose?
Yeah, but well, she's got Captain James. Miss Lizzie's got no one.
Rose, fetch some wine glasses from the pantry.
Oh, bubbly.
The old ones, not the best, with the master and her ladyship's compliments.
For us?
2 bottles, Mrs. Bridges. The master suggested we might care to celebrate the events of the day down here.
I'm quite partial to a glass of champagne from time to time.
Oh, well, on special occasions.
Here we go now. Oh, there she blows. Now, hold it steady now, Rose. Lovely, Mrs. Bridges. One for Miss Roberts. Come on, John McGill, over here. You have a wee drop as well.
Only a
Plenty
wee drop
for
for
all of
us.
us. There we are now. Well, this is a pleasant surprise.
Prudence, dear.
Oh, thank you, Richard. You know, you shouldn't spoil me like this. After all, I'm really an intruder on a family occasion.
That's nonsense, Prue, and you know it.
We all look on you as one of the family, don't we, James?
Yeah, well, personally, I have the greatest difficulty in stopping myself from calling you Aunt Prue, even though you're no relation.
Ah, James, what a sweet thought.
All the same, Aunt Prue rather conjures up a stern, elderly spinster with an ear trumpet, not an elegant lady of fashion like Lady P. Fairfax.
Dear James.
Elizabeth.
Thank you, Father.
Now, drink it slowly, Elizabeth. We don't want to have to carry you up to bed.
James. Well, my dears, I thought today called for a little celebration at 165 Eaton Place because not only is it the anniversary of the birth of my precious wife, we also have to welcome home from India
Our precious son.
our gallant captain.
That's better.
Yeah. And a warm family welcome, and that includes you, my dear Prudence, to Phyllis, who is about to become a charming new member of our tribe. Many happy returns of the day, Marjorie.
And I know I speak for all of us here when I express the hope that we may long continue in the service of...
Front door.
in the loyal service of our present employers. To the family.
The family.
Family.
Front door, Rose. Put your glass down. See who it is.
They're not expecting anybody else, are they, Miss Stratton?
Not as far as I'm aware of, Mrs. Bridges.
Yes?
What's your Rosie?
Sarah!
Where's the family?
Upstairs. Here. What you doing coming in by the front door?
Would you kindly announce us, Rose?
Will I kindly what?
Well, it's your duty to announce visitors, isn't it?
Here. You two get down there. Come back, Sarah. You can't go up there.
Oh, don't worry, Rose. We'll announce ourselves.
Absolutely
I think he's exaggerating. I hope you don't mind us barging in, my lady, but I just wanted to wish you happy birthday.
Oh, that's a very nice drop of wine.
Miss Roberts.
Well, just a drop. I'm very partial. It's very kind of them, I must say.
Mr. Hudson, come quick.
What is it, Rose?
Thomas Watkins and Sarah, loud as loud.
What?
Where?
Upstairs in the drawing room. They pushed past me, said they'd come to call.
Oh, you should have stopped them, Rose.
I couldn't. They was halfway up the stairs before I could blink.
Well, they've as much right to be up there as anyone. I mean, they're not servants no more.
Whether they're actually in service or not is purely academic, my girl. They are of the servant class, and as such have got no right to go barging into the drawing room, especially under the circumstances.
And with Mr. James up there, too.
How dare they? Watkins and Sarah were with us here for a while, weren't you?
That's right, my lady.
We've got this garage business now. Buying and selling motor cars up in North London.
It's Kilburn, actually.
Thanks to her little windfall. And Sarah's baby's due next month.
That's splendid. You're looking well, Sarah.
Oh, I'm my lady.
Ah, Hudson.
Evening, Mr. Hudson.
It's us, Mr. Hudson.
Ah, yes. Good evening.
Yes, Hudson.
Sir?
Do you want something?
Oh, no, sir. I simply wanted to say that if Mr. and Mrs. Watkins would care to, some of the staff downstairs would very much like to see you. Them, Mrs. Bridges, Rose...
I'm sure they would, Hudson, in a minute.
I just want to give you a present first, my lady.
Oh, Sarah, how very kind of you. You shouldn't have done that.
She used to work here as under-house parlourmaid.
Really?
He was our chauffeur. And they got married and left.
She's pretty.
Sarah, it's a beautiful scarf.
Well, it's not exactly your style, but it is with our very best wishes, me and Tom, that is Mr. Watkins and myself, lady.
Thank you both. I'm very touched.
It's our pleasure, my lady. Everything all right at the garage, Watkins?
Flourishing, thank you, sir.
Yeah, he's kept ever so busy mending motor cars all day long, isn't he, Tom?
Oh, that's good. Well, perhaps you would both like to go with Hudson now and see the others?
Oh. Yeah, well, I want to show Rosie me hat. Rose, that is. Ta-ra, everybody.
Yeah, we'll go and taste some of Mrs. Bridges' fruitcake. Excuse us, my lady. Thank you, Mr. Hudson.
What a surprise that was.
Extraordinary.
Looking very prosperous, I thought.
I'm not surprised. The motor car trade, that's the thing to be in these days. I wouldn't mind.
Better than ladies' hats, anyway.
Better than domestic service, I should think, even in this noble house.
You'll get on, that young man. I always said he would.
I think I'll just step out onto the balcony for a breath of fresh air.
You all right, James?
Oh, don't come out, Phyllis. You'll catch cold without a wrap or something.
Of course I won't. It's warm.
Oh. Here you are. Lights of London. Heart of the Empire. Home.
Listen. A sort of humming sound. Can't you hear it?
Yes, it's coming from over there, towards Victoria Station.
What's coming from towards Victoria Station?
A sort of murmuring sound. A train, perhaps?
No, shh, listen.
Sounds like a huge crowd of people.
I'm afraid that's what it is.
Oh.
There's a huge crowd outside Buckingham Palace just standing there, waiting for news. Has been since tea time.
Is the king very ill?
The man I met in the club this afternoon said they thought he might not live through the night.
Well, oughtn't we to have cancelled our dinner?
I saw no reason to spoil a family evening.
Poor man.
Yes, it's a bad business with Asquith being out of the country and everything else.
If he does... Well, he's had such a short reign.
12 horsepower. She's tuned up nice now. She can do 35 miles an hour downwind.
Honest, he drives ever so fast, Tom does. I'm terrified sometimes. I mean, what if the wheel come off?
Aye, well, we'll be getting another motor car soon. I mean, now the petrol sales are picking up. Well, how's Rosie then?
Very well, thank you, Thomas.
Miss Lizzie?
She's fine too.
Seems a long time since Greenwich, eh? You, Mrs. Fellows on her leg. Good days, weren't they?
Well, they lasted. Tell you one thing. We'll have a sweatshop down
Well, let's have a job more of this then.
Oh, I've got plenty.
Mrs. Bridges, what are you?
Hello? Mr. Richard Bellamy's residence? Yes? Sir John who? Oh, yes. Hold the line, if you please.
Where will they live, then?
Well, here for a while. I mean, if James is going to work in the city, they'll have to be here.
You'll have a full house.
Yes, with Elizabeth home.
And, not likely to fly the nest again?
Well, not for the moment, but one never knows.
Oh, our house is going to seem very empty without Agatha clumping about all over the place.
You've got Archie.
He sleeps most of the time now. He's either asleep in a chair at the club, or a chair at home, or in his bed at night. We've hardly exchanged a word for 3 years.
Really?
He's getting old, my dear. We're all getting old.
Oh, don't be so depressing.
Excuse me, my lady. The master is wanting the telephone.
Yes, Hudson. What is it?
Sir John Alexander, sir, from the palace.
Oh. I'll take it in the morning room.
That's 9. There you go.
Oh, that's plenty. Oh. You always did like it.
If you don't mind, I think we should put the champagne away now and disperse quietly. Mr. Watkins, I expect you'd like to take Sarah home.
Something happened, Mr. Hudson?
The king is dead.
Wonder what sort of king the new one will be.
Worthy, but not the same.
Jack Alexander said the Queen sent for Mrs. Keppel this afternoon to come over and sit with him.
1901 to 1910. The children will have a new date to learn for their history examinations.
9 years isn't very long for a reign.
Quite a decade.
I wonder what the next 10 years will be like.
Cold, Marjorie?
Just a shiver down my spine.
You ought to have something round your shoulders.
It's all right. Only someone walking over my grave.
Come in now.
I must go home soon.
You two coming in? You'll catch cold out there.
It's all right, Father. It's quite warm.
Leave the children. They'll come to no harm. They're young.